me at all or not?
No, you were cutting out. I couldn't hear you well. I'm sorry. I have started recording now. We're now doing Module 3 of LawOffice Technology. My plan is to answer questions as we go. So whatever creates a question, just to ask it right away, and I'll try to answer it right away. Go through the basics of the written assignment and the basics of the activity assignment, the how-tos, so to speak. But you want to be able to ask any questions. If what you're doing does not accomplish these objectives, contact me. If you don't feel like you're learning hardware terms, software terms, a lot of it is text. Projects and tasks where technology is used. We have text, we've got lawyerist.com and company software sites. So those are our sources. We frequently don't use those things as sources, like company information, but that is often the best source when you're dealing with specifics, prices, what is available, features of each product. When available. So if you go to company websites and reviews, those do help. Like I say, they're not academic source, they're not super high level. You take them with a grain of salt, but you can still make recommendations based on them as long as you try to use the text to get your comprehension of your basic terminology. Show your work, even if it's just to show that you have a definition. Quote site. Again, key sources, Blue Book sites. I do like to see specific page numbers. This would be page 100. In Blue Book, you don't even have to use the term page. I do like to see those because I know that you're paging through the text and using it to get definitions of terms down pat. It does help to get a fast start in the first 2.5 weeks. So spending the technology budget, we do want both hardware and software. So you want computers, printers. You might want a server. Question about what a server is, or are you already familiar with that? Added hardware. Um, do you want to do a separate machine for scanning? And then, of course, what subscriptions for software like Microsoft? Which used to be called Office. Do you know what it's called now? I just bought the subscription. I'm not seeing the overall name. I'm seeing the specifics. Microsoft 365, I think, is what they call it, isn't it? My computer is still calling it Office, I think. Okay, yeah. It's interesting because I have a different program that does PDFs now rather than using using Reader. I have PDF Exchange Editor. See if I can show you. I don't want Zoom meetings. Where did that come up? I just finished the Zoom meeting, but I thought that should be done with. That should not be. Weird. Can you see Exchange Editor? So I have a PDF. Is that showing up on yours? So I can protect this document. I can sign it. This is just something from the NFPA. I used it as an example because it's not private or anything. But you've got lots of choices, even though this is a cheap thing that I don't have to pay for every month. Find and redact. So I could put social security number in like redact that. I don't know if you can see that, if that's large enough. But anyway, I typed in a sample sample something that we could redact. It does have a spell checker. It's got all kinds of stuff. You can add comments, text box. So there is a lot of bells and whistles to this, even though it's not by the top. It's not considered at the very top. But it's a lot cheaper. It's by Tracker Software and not Adobe. Adobe has Free Reader, which of course is free, and Adobe that is expensive. Anyway, that's one thing you could consider for your budget. I'm not sure if you want to do activity first. I think I'll give you this right away. Show a source and reply helpfully. And this has to do with discussions. And I'll just leave this up for a while so it works for the recording. Have you had a chance to take a look at the discussion or at the assignments, other assignments yet? I realize it's early in the week. Okay. Okay, good. Well, we're not doing this now. This is we did this before for the club, October 29th, and then we did another one in the spring, and I will be doing another role play. But these are fun, so if you ever want to do this, let me know. Want to be part of it. Club activities are enjoyable and help. Budget. Spend the technology budget. But it has to be about what you, the student, think after reviewing several sources. It's not about what some blogger thinks. Do not copy and paste from the web that earn 0 points. Cite all materials used. We no longer use a reference page. Use in-text citations, which means right in the body. So cite it right in the paragraph. So basically, it's what would you want if you were the attorney? And I think having been an attorney, having hired numerous staff people at various times, what I wanted to know is what they found. Employee found. Types of equipment and software. Features. Price where available. Where. Site and link. And what the employee thinks. This is not puzzling, is it? I realize I'm kind of a broken record. What did you find? Where did you find it? What do you think? This is something that often does not happen very well in the law office. People give opinions, but they don't have any source, or people give a source and have no opinions. They're not assertive enough. They're afraid to give an idea. Doesn't work very well. High-level paralegal work, as long as I'm paying somebody to think, why don't they share their thinking? As long as I'm paying somebody to research, why don't they share what they researched? And then why don't they show me which is their research and which is their thinking? So you research, you find, you show which is which is what you found, which is what you think, and make it clear, and then it's easy. Then the boss can skim down and say, well, I'm going to go with the employee because the employee is going to be using this. But if it's not clear if the employee cares one way or the other, the boss is just going to pick something that maybe doesn't work that good. Questions, comments? Why would I want to pick something? Why would I want to lean in on the employee's point of view if I didn't know the employee's point of view? And would I listen to the employee's point of view if I couldn't also look up the websites easily? Remember that if in my attorney role, I'm in between cases. I've got somebody coming in a little bit, and then after that I have to go to court, and then I have to do the other thing. So I want to be able to look down through it and find out exactly what you found and exactly what you think, okay? And so let's do it that way, and then it works. Then it's building job skills, in my opinion, higher level job skills. Not entry level job skills. Yes. Yeah, that's Blue Book. Blue Book does not ask for a reference page, but some appellate briefs require them, okay? So you end up citing twice for appellate briefs, but I don't want a reference page unless we do an appeals court brief in a course, okay? Unless I teach a class that has appellate briefs. That's not an interruption. Questions are a help. The presentation is an interruption. What I'm basically here for is to answer questions. But while waiting for questions, I have a PowerPoint so that we don't just sit here with, when there's only one of you, I don't have 20 of you here, I can't expect you to totally carry the ball and have dozens of questions, right? So I do have to have a presentation, but if I had 20 people here, I would be skipping around and answering 20 questions or so if I could. Adult learning is really about asking questions, but I don't expect one person to have 20 questions, okay? You're doing the right thing. So how do you get the points? You show substantial research that's independent and not a repeat of a blogger's research. And then you show a balance between personal applications and reporting and your own thinking. So basically, yes, report and think. And if you deal with difficult, if you end up dealing with some difficult things where you're not sure, you lose track of some difficult software type and you don't know whether it's a brand name or something else, I don't penalize difficult goof-ups. Yeah, does that make sense, Cheyenne? If it's in the process of going into detail and depth on something difficult that's new to you, let's say you have a whole lot of error-free content, and at the end you're describing something you're describing some new type of software or technology that you think that we should explore further, and you make an error in spelling or grammar, that does not count against you because you've already earned the 3 points. Rule 1 is once you earn the points, you keep them. You keep them. It's not a system. I hate the system where they assign 100 points and then they start taking them away. I don't like that. I don't take away. So let's say you show lots of good thinking and several applications from cited sources, and then you also have some things you're exploring that you're really not certain of, and maybe you don't explain those as well. That's okay. I want to encourage that, not discourage it. So you have some clearly thought out ideas and you have exploratory ideas. You probably earn points for both, but I just don't want you to worry about exploring. Once you've earned the 7 points, you keep them. Once you earn the 3 points, you keep them. Same thing with the 5 points. You have the substantial research. It doesn't show use of basically 1 or 2 bloggers' opinions. It's your own research, your own opinions, okay? Some things some blogger came up with in the year 2020 won't help you that much in the year 2025, Cheyenne. It just won't. The skills of finding stuff for yourself, that will help you in the year 2025. Because it's about you and your skills. It isn't about today's final answer necessarily. So you balance things out. What are the basic hardware and software ideas? And all of this is from the text. So the text does teach this. Go through and list terminology. And operating systems. Most people are using this, and some are using this. And you say, well, it's not really MS-DOS anymore. I realize that. But Windows 19, Windows 10 is built on MS-DOS, disk operating system. And then this is the Apple brand version. Read-only memory is the instructions retained in the computer after computer power is turned off. Computer chip and memory module that do basic computer functions. Random access memory, motherboard, utility software, and applications. Office Network, take a look at Office Network too. What is that? That's computers working together in the law office. Share files, share a printer. And I already went over that, okay. Discussion, argue both sides, show your thinking. Instead of just taking one middle ground position, try to argue both sides, maybe argue even an extreme position. We should use zero social media. We should not have a website at all. We should try to stay totally off the web. And then the other extreme position is that we should have an easy pay, full service website. Well, and then if somebody pays in that we didn't really want as a client, we'll just repay them. Obviously, that's an extreme that nobody will accept. But do you know what I mean by a payment website? I mean, any website will let you log on and so on. The problem with doing that, there are problems dealing with that in a small law firm website because we don't have people that are constantly updating the website and checking it. Plus, we would need, even with a casual client, we'd need to have a way for them to create a username, password. Why would they want to do that if they only come in once for legal advice or something, or one legal document? Do they really want to create a username and password? Probably not. Although in today's world where you want everything done no contact, good question. Anyway, do the best you can. Same thing, we need sources. Cite sources, cite at least one source in each discussion board, and then do at least one reply and a starter post. So how do you earn the points? A post and at least one reply, personal comments, use of a cited quote, and then independent thinking point. So not complicated, but not super easy either. Nicole, the legal ethics class was last night. I changed it to Mondays because you end up on a Tuesday, and we had to change the one Monday due to a faculty meeting and probably another one. So I thought I might as well just do them all Mondays. And I did post the recordings in the box for Mod 03. We are in Law Office Technology. Sometimes you need to fix multiple errors made by a former employee or a defective or partial draft. The content is partly wrong and the cell contents are not fully visible. So here, these things like general work and that's not in the right cell, so we need to grab this. Cheyenne, I think you are already adept at this. You need to grab that line and pull it over that way. And you already know how to do all of that, I think, don't you? Can't remember, but yeah. And then you know that you cannot mix in, you can't mix in something like that. That's 2.0 instead of 2.0, and you have words and numbers in the same cell, and that doesn't work. So you're already familiar with that, I think. Yeah, okay. Are you already you already find like sum and product, those formulas? Is that are those something you've already mastered? Okay, okay. I want to remind anyway, I don't know if the other student in this class is already familiar with those, so I may review those a little bit more. So that needs to be fixed. It's a video. The directions are the same as what is said in the video. So if you want a transcript, the transcript is the same as the directions. It's learned by doing. There's no real mystery. So I would try to update the dates to last week rather than use 2015 dates. But it is fussy. So we go to this, and here's the YouTube on it, and here's the timesheet. And if you go through the YouTube, you're going to say, well, this, since you're already good at this, you probably are going to say, why don't I just use this? Well, you could just use that. And then the explanation, and then just what to put. Total of all hours should be on C6. Type this function in C6 exactly as it shows in red. And equal sum C2 minus C5, for instance. So it's the detail work, okay? Okay, this probably requires a separate share. Why don't we pull up the Excel sheet? So we're going to fix this so it's readable. We're going to stop calling this 2.0 hours, fix it so it's just numbers. And then we're going to do the total here. So it shouldn't have the formula here. You can see the formula up above B. It should be here, but it's exactly the same as here, except you type it here. So it's not really complicated, but it's just doing each detail and fixing it where I want it fixed. Because of how I grade it though, even if you have a better way of setting it up or formatting it, just leave the format and such as it is, okay? And then this, I tell you that I don't want it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I want it dates, not days of the week. So it's a very literal thing. Oh, were you able to see that application, by the way? Was that working? Don't just type yes, because I see a lot of yeses, but losing focus here. I mean, were you able to say it works? Excel worked? Okay. Okay, Excel worked. But basically, So exactly how this is dates. So what would this be? This would be July 13th, wouldn't it? Okay, and there's already a formula here, but there's no formula here. Fix that. There's no formula here. Fix that. So it's not super hard, but that's why it's called an activity. It's not called a super hard test or something. But it's detail work where you're trying to fill in something even if you don't like the format as well as one you would do yourself. A lot of my students say, well, I don't like the format. I'd rather spiff it up, and that's true. You probably want to, for your portfolio, you want to do a nicer looking version of the same thing, but for the purpose of just getting it done in class, I guess just use the format we got. I'm going to pause the recording, this on the recording. The written assignment, really, a lot of things, if you get stuck, go to text, definitions, types of hardware and software, everybody knows basics, only everybody doesn't know. And then lawyerist.com. And then launch a lot of your own thinking. Or comments. You may not think that you may not think it's that big of a deal, but what you think is a big deal, especially if you are the main employee in a small law firm. What you think is a big deal. If you think something is awkward, even though somebody else thinks it's not, if you're going to be doing a lot of the data entry, why should they buy something you think is awkward? I wouldn't. You see where I'm coming from? Same thing, if it has features that you don't think the fictional law firm or a fictional law firm you can imagine, if you think that the features wouldn't do much, they're just extra cost, let's not buy them. And you're going to say, well, places I work for might not want any of these features. True, but the purpose of the exercise is that you are trying to just practice projecting your opinion based on research. You're not having to be personally assertive because you're putting it in writing. Is that fair? Is that fair enough or explanatory? Does that help?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, because most of my students do not like to be personally assertive, but if they're allowed to put things in writing and present it, then they gave their opinion, and the boss or a committee, may not be a boss, a committee, it may be more of a peer committee even, they can look up the same stuff you looked up and decide if they agree or disagree.
Well, I think writing's more helpful anyway because you have that record of it as well.
Well, yeah, and if somebody finds an error, you can graciously say, well, that was the price they gave me, or I was reluctant to call up because we're still working on a class assignment, you know. I was reluctant to call up a sales representative to get an exact quote, but here's the best I could come up with for prices, okay? You're not going to get every price you want. but you can get a bunch of them, and then you can estimate some others based on prices that are available, because they're usually pretty competitive. Other than the best known outfits like Adobe, for instance, is going to cost a lot more, and they're going to try to nail you every single year. Whereas PDF Exchange Editor that I displayed, they're going to go really cheap because they don't have the big name.